here, or I guess in general, are not actually being used to buy goods and services. They're mainly used for speculation. But I'm going to talk to you about 3 real Zcash transactions that I have made that show the status quo of using Zcash as a currency. I have lots of reasons why I want to do this, but I think the first reason is just to show you what's going on without any judgment, and hopefully this will be a big celebration of, wow, you can actually buy something on Amazon with Zcash, and to say, yes, you can. And secondly, it would motivate you to say, oh, wow, that's how you need to do that. That was really hard. I should go fix that, and I hope you do. And the third motivation is that we have a lot of improvements that Sean covered and Ariel just explained how it works. So hopefully I can give another presentation on how you can use Zcash in the future, and it would hopefully look a lot differently. The first transaction that I want to talk about is my first transaction ever with Zcash, and I think it was a bit unconventional because I was contracted to try to buy something with Zcash, and that was my mission. So I actually bought a car charger with Zcash because I just lose car chargers everywhere. I just gift them away, and I'll steal them from my car. I don't know what happens to them. And I want to point out that this is really unconventional because, first of all, I didn't think to try to make a lot of money off of Zcash. I was explicitly told to use it as a currency. I was given some Zcash to use as currency, so I didn't even need to go about trying to buy Zcash and worry about all the tax implications of that. And I was also given recommendations on what wallets to use and what platforms to use. I think that the first thing that we can improve is to just have some search engine optimization, raise awareness, or support applications that are doing this work, because I could just end this presentation now and the real answer would be, using Zcash? You don't. I'll just walk off right now. So this is the next best thing we have. And I think that trying to buy something on Amazon with your Zcash is pretty representative of how an average user would want to use their Zcash for the first time. And I think that that's not their fault, even though it's really hard, because that's what we're trying to market ourselves as. We're fighting for the right to transact, and we're fighting for the right for Venezuelans to buy medical supplies, but you're also fighting for my right to buy a car charger on Amazon. It's the same thing, almost. To do this, I used a service called purse.io. I do want to give out shout outs to companies that do support these kinds of services, because there's so many exchanges but not many places where you can actually use cryptocurrency to buy goods and services, and I think they're really important. I had to use Shapeshift to try to convert my Zcash into Bitcoin because all the marketplaces default to Bitcoin transactions, and I used Cryptonator as my multi-cryptocurrency wallet. Here you can see, oh, it's not there, it's over there. You can see a screenshot of what it looks like to try to buy something from purse.io. It's actually really slick. It kind of looks like a sexier version of Amazon with more gray and blue. And you can type in, hey, car charger, and it shows you all of the listings that are listed on Amazon. There are also additional items that are listed on the platform itself that are not included on Amazon. The user interface is really great, and you can click what to buy, fill out your shipping address. Everything is very intuitive. We've been all trained to do this before. But I'm just going to tell you everything that confused me about the checkout process, and it's going to be a bit embarrassing. And although I do have some background in computer science, I got a master's degree, but not anything to do with cryptocurrency, I feel like the fact that I was this confused should say something. I PhD'd out of a computer security degree from Berkeley. I mean mastered out, not PhD'd out, sorry. And I was still super confused. So at this point, I was just browsing the websites, trying to buy something, and I hadn't set up my wallet yet. Paige was supposed to just send me some Zcash eventually, or maybe it was Margaret. And when I get to the end to check out, this was after, hey, I found my car charger, I filled in the shipping address, and boom, it says deposit total. I really didn't know what that meant. I didn't know that that was a conversion of the fiat currency that I was supposed to pay in Bitcoin. It also said I had a Bitcoin address, which really confused me because I didn't own any Bitcoin and I didn't own any Zcash, and I didn't have a mobile wallet, so I don't know what that was about. It turns out that they support a light wallet within the actual service that you can fund, but that was super confusing. I didn't know that Coinbase meant, hey, you need to go buy cryptocurrency with your wallet and you're going to get really scared doing it, and there's a lot of news about how you're going to get audited and then you can buy this car charger. I also didn't know that Zcash was considered an altcoin because Zcash was the first cryptocurrency I heard about. I was living under a rock. So I didn't know what to click or what to do to actually buy something with Zcash. And then I tried to set up this wallet, and as you know, most wallets currently are multi-currency wallets that are geared toward investors. You can see very obvious things like my portfolio, winners and losers, and all those things like that. And since Zcash is not a top 3 currency, well, I think it's a top 3 currency, but it's not in CoinMarketCap or whatever, you can currently only find Zcash in multi-currency wallets that have 20, 50 cryptocurrencies, and it's usually geared toward investors. So this is what you might have to use to buy something. So this is just kind of going against the use case in general. And then I tried to pay for my car charger with some Zcash that I acquired. And this interface actually looks pretty okay, right? But I had a lot of trouble with it. I can use copy and paste, and I was told exactly what amount to give. But fun fact, depending on what wallet you use, the fee might not even be displayed. And if I try to send one Zcash to purse.io, some wallets you actually send one Zcash and you get debited the fee on top of that. So your transaction doesn't look like the amount that you sent in your wallet, which is confusing. Sometimes you get debited one Zcash, but then you shortchange the merchant. Sometimes you pay the fee, sometimes they choose to pay the fee. Sometimes the fee changes depending on your settings. Sometimes they manually adjust it to the mempool. Sometimes it's not even listed. So I actually didn't know what amount I was sending, even though I entered that amount. The fee is there, which is good, but I didn't know if I was paying it or if Purse.io was footing it. And this is actually intended behavior. It's in the Bitcoin protocol. So I guess maybe if they wanted to incentivize me to buy from them, they would foot the transaction fee or something like that. The address was a little bit okay looking. It's not very human memorable or verifiable, but it wasn't the worst. I also got my charger 2 days later because Amazon is great, but that is a pretty representative experience of what an average user might go through if they wanted to buy something with Zcash. And I think that there's a lot of things that we can do. I think that things are the way that they are for very good reasons. Multi-currency wallets are designed for investors because it's really profitable for them to speculate. And marketplaces default to Bitcoin because they were the first to market, and I really respect Bitcoin. I think it's really great. I think that we're able to kind of slide in there because we forked off a Bitcoin core, and if you support Bitcoin, you can support Zcash with not much extra work. So we actually slide in at about the 5th most adopted coin, even though we're 20 on market cap. And I think this is not Zcash official ideas, but this is my own personal idea. I want to slide in, be everywhere, and then just secretly upgrade them and give them the privacy that they didn't know they wanted. So I think that's on their way. We're on a lot of platforms. We're on a lot of platforms that are able to allow you to buy goods and services with Zcash. My second transaction is my most memorable transaction. I sent a t-shirt to someone in Venezuela with Zcash using a decentralized marketplace. And I learned a lot of new things. One, that my Spanish wasn't that good. They send winky faces, and that's not romantic in any way. It's a joking thing. And it's really difficult to get something sent to Venezuela. And also, I feel like fighting for the right to transact was really abstract until I started talking to these people, because they literally couldn't buy stuff with their money if they tried. And I knew this at an intellectual level, but some guy I was telegramming just said, hey, that'd be really great if you can use me in your experiment because that t-shirt would be a month in wages. And I said, oh my goodness, that's really terrible. So I think that there's a really good reason to do the things that we do. And the good news is that we can already kind of do stuff like that with the current technology. So I think we should take a time to celebrate that. But the bad news is that it requires a very highly motivated someone with specific needs to be motivated enough to use Zcash. I used Bazaar, which is the decentralized marketplace, and I had to use Shapeshift to shapeshift my Zcash into Bitcoin again to purchase this. Now they actually provide Zcash Lite Wallet support, so you can use Zcash directly, but it kind of just looks like a Bitcoin transaction anyway. Or you can go through the trouble of setting up a full node, providing the directory to it from your Bazaar client, and you can actually send shielded transactions. So things have been improving ever since. This is what the Bazaar client looks like. I think it's cool to see. You can see that there's specific merchandise that are very geared toward crypto people, but there are also normal people things there too. It's really hard to find, I don't know, beans or toothpaste or t-shirts on Bazaar, but you can find a lot of crypto stickers and HODL t-shirts, so it was actually a bit difficult for me to get something useful to Venezuela, but I ended up doing it. And these platforms are really great because they decentralize the marketplace. Amazon isn't willing to ship to Venezuela. I don't know why. There's maybe a trade reason or a political reason, but they allow you to search by where you can ship to, and you can choose Venezuela. And since there's individual people sending small packages, I think it's going okay. I don't know what's been happening or anything like that to other people who've tried this, but my t-shirt got sent to Venezuela pretty well. It's kind of loose fitting on the guy, but that's not too bad. The interface is really intuitive, I think, e-commerce stuff. And I was able to, again, go through the process of purchasing this and funding my Bazaar wallet with some Shapeshift, and I really enjoyed the experience. I think there wasn't anything bad to say about this, except for the fact that there's a lack of products that I wanted to buy on the marketplace, and the fact that when some platforms support light wallets and full nodes, it usually burdens the user for the initiative to figure out that you can actually run a full node, that you have to set it up yourself, and that you have to maintain it. So on Bazaar, if you do want to run a full node and use a shielded transaction to buy a t-shirt, you're limited to sellers who also have set up a Zcash full node and are accepting shielded transactions through Zcash. So I couldn't buy anything, even though it was technically possible. So that was a little bit frustrating. But this is still way better than my first example, where I used a centralized interface, essentially, bought something on Amazon, they have all of my info, and essentially had to use Bitcoin and transparent addresses. This is a platform that supports light wallets. It's a decentralized marketplace, and you could technically run a full node. So that is one of my favorite transactions. And the third transaction I want to talk about, I just want to highlight because a lot of the cryptocurrencies out there are vaporware, and I know that everyone in this room knows this, but you can make shielded transactions today, and you can run them in a way that is pretty secure. And I want to show you my most authentic, most secure Zcash transaction that I've ever made. If you're counting a real transaction and not a test one, oh, I'm skipping some slides. It's okay. If you're counting, I guess, real transactions and not a test transactions, I have bought a VPN service using a shielded address before. Shout out to PIA for supporting shielded addresses. But if you're counting a test one, I ran a WinZec node, and a colleague of mine sent me some Zcash over Tor using a shielded transaction to my shielded address in WinZec, and that was probably the most secure thing that I've ever done. And it only required someone with a master's in computer science and another employee of the company who'd been trying to run his node for 4 months. So that was pretty great. This slide is, I guess I just skipped over it, but I want to point out that this is what people think that they're doing when they use Zcash, and they feel kind of betrayed when they find out. So I thought that this is what I was getting when I was buying a car charger off of Amazon, and I think that's because we market ourselves as doing that. I think it's really good that we are getting the message across and people are understanding, and privacy is really really important. But I think that there's a special case of hair on fire right now, which is the thing that Zcash does that no other coin does. You think you're using it, you're not. And if you want to use it, you need to run the Zcash D node, which only builds natively on Linux, or use WinZec, which is at the whim of Radix 42. So I think that there's a lot to be improved. I think that the WinZec client is really great. I think that for what it's worth, it's pretty easy to set up your Zcash client to run over Tor. It's just that you need to actually manually configure it yourself in the command line, which maybe not a lot of people are willing to do, but it is totally possible. The interface is also not any worse than any other interface for transparent transactions. And yeah, you can buy real stuff with it. It's just really hard to do so. But I do want to celebrate the fact that it works. It currently works even before sapling, and you can buy stuff with it even now. And yeah, this is the current ideal use for Zcash. It's not really ideal. It's really clunky. It was a test transaction, but I feel like we can eventually get to a point where you can just send something on a mobile wallet and you can buy something from a decentralized merchant who also accepts shielded payments. I hope to come back and give you guys an update pretty soon about that, but that's it. This talk was also secretly just a pitch for you to come to my user experience workshop, which is happening soon. If at any point you thought, oh my gosh, that's really bad, or hey, I'm actually building a wallet, or hey, you're thinking of building a prototype implementation for reference, I really want you to include something in that. You should come, we'll have a conversation, and you can also tell me your stories. Thanks.